Maya Chun wiped the sweat from her forehead as she crawled through the ventilation shaft of Research Station Kepler 442b. The artificial gravity generators were acting up again, and someone had to fix them before the entire station started floating around like a snow globe. As the only human technician on a station full of Zephyrians, Krillians, and other alien species, Maya often got the jobs nobody else wanted to do. The Zephyrians were too big for the narrow maintenance shafts. The Krillians' crystalline bodies would shatter if they squeezed through tight spaces. The Vorthan engineers were brilliant, but considered manual labor beneath them. That left Maya, all 5 feet 4 inches of her, to crawl through spaces that were barely designed for anything larger than a maintenance drone. Chun, what's your status? Came the voice of Station Commander Vextar through her comm unit. The Krillian's voice always sounded like wind chimes in a hurricane. Almost there, Commander. The malfunction seems to be coming from Junction 7 Alpha. Should have it sorted in about 20 minutes. Acknowledged. The Council representatives are arriving tomorrow for the habitat expansion proposal. We need those gravity generators stable. Maya rolled her eyes. Of course they did. The Galactic Council was always visiting for something. This time it was to decide whether humans deserved their own protected habitat worlds, or if they should continue to be scattered across alien colonies as workers and technicians. Maya had her doubts about how that vote would go. She reached Junction 7 Alpha and immediately saw the problem. The gravity field modulator had been installed backwards. It was such an obvious mistake that Maya wondered how 3 different alien engineers had missed it during their thorough inspection last week. Typical, she muttered, pulling out her tools. Humans are too primitive to understand complex technology, they said. Humans should stick to simple maintenance tasks, they said. As Maya worked, her mind wandered to the conversation she'd overheard in the mess hall that morning. 2 Vorthan scientists had been discussing the council meeting, speaking in what they thought was private. They'd used the translator-proof Vorthan phrase that roughly meant useful pets when referring to humans. Maya's jaw clenched as she remembered it. Humans have been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries, while most Galactic Council species have been exploring the stars for millennia. But that didn't make humans pets. It just meant they were newer to the neighborhood. She finished rewiring the modulator and felt the gentle hum of proper gravity field alignment. Commander, gravity generators are back online. Should be stable now. Excellent work, Chun. Report to Base 7 when you're finished. We have a situation. Maya frowned. Base 7 was typically used for quarantine procedures. What kind of situation, sir? The kind that requires discretion. Vextar out. 20 minutes later, Maya stood in the airlock of Base 7, staring at something that made her heart race. Inside the quarantine chamber lay a dragon. Not a dragon-like alien species. An actual dragon, complete with scales that shifted from deep purple to silver in the light, massive wings folded against its sides, and a long, elegant neck ending in a head the size of a small shuttle. The dragon was dying. Medical scanners showed its life signs were critical and failing fast. Its breathing was labored, and several of its scales had fallen out, leaving raw patches of skin that looked infected. Most shocking of all, the dragon appeared to be young, barely more than a hatchling despite being larger than most spacecraft. Where did it come from? Maya asked Commander Vextar, who stood beside her with Dr. Killen, the station's chief medical officer. A distress beacon led our patrol ships to a damaged escape pod drifting in the Helix Nebula, Dr. Killen explained. The Zephyrian's tentacles writhed with agitation. The pod's systems were failing. By the time we brought it aboard, the occupant was barely alive. Dragons are supposed to be extinct, Maya said, pressing her face against the viewing window. The council records show they disappeared from the galaxy over 1,000 years ago, which is why this situation requires discretion. Commander Vextar's crystalline voice rang with authority. If word gets out that we found a living dragon, every government, research facility, and private collector in the galaxy will want to claim it. The dragon will become a specimen instead of a patient. Maya watched the dragon's labored breathing. Even unconscious and dying, there was something magnificent about the creature. Its scales seemed to shimmer with an inner light, and she could see the intelligence behind its closed eyelids. "What's the medical situation?" she asked. Dr. Killen's tentacles drooped. "Terminal, I'm afraid. The dragon's physiology is completely unknown to us. Our medical databases have no information about dragon biology, dietary needs, or treatment protocols. Every medication we've tried has either been ineffective or made the situation worse." "You're giving up?" "We're not giving up," Commander Vextar said firmly. "But we're out of options. Dr. Killen has consulted with every medical expert in this sector. No one knows how to treat a dragon." Maya stared at the dying creature and felt something stir in her chest. It was the same feeling she got when she looked at broken equipment that everyone else had written off as hopeless. The same feeling that made her stay up all night reading technical manuals and experimenting with new solutions. "Has anyone tried looking at this from a different angle?" she asked. "What do you mean?" Dr. Killen's translator conveyed confusion. "Well, you're all approaching this as a medical problem. But what if it's an engineering problem?" Commander Vextar's crystalline body shifted to face her fully. "Explain." Maya's mind was already racing. "Dragons breathe fire, right? At least, that's what human legends say. Fire requires combustion, which means they probably have some kind of internal chemical reaction system. What if the dragon isn't sick? What if its internal systems are malfunctioning like a piece of equipment?" "That's actually an interesting theory," Dr. Killen admitted. "But even if you're correct, we still don't know how dragon biology works." "No, but I know how systems work. And every system, biological or mechanical, follows certain patterns." Maya turned to Commander Vextar. "Request permission to examine the patient, sir." "Absolutely not. The quarantine protocols are designed to protect us from biological contamination," Maya interrupted. "But if I'm right, and this is a systems failure, then biological contamination isn't the real danger. Besides, humans have been around dragons in our legends for thousands of years. If dragons were biologically dangerous to humans, our ancestors would have mentioned it." Commander Vextar was quiet for a long moment. "Dr. Killen, what's your professional opinion?" "The dragon will be dead within 6 hours at its current rate of decline. Conventional medicine has failed. At this point, any new approach is worth trying." "Very well. Chun, you have 1 hour to conduct your examination. Full environmental suit, constant monitoring, and if there's any sign of danger, you're out of there immediately." 30 minutes later, Maya stood inside the quarantine chamber wearing a full environmental suit and carrying a toolkit that made her look like a mechanic instead of a medical professional, which she supposed was exactly what she was. Up close, the dragon was even more magnificent. Its scales were warm to the touch, and she could feel a faint electrical field emanating from its body. Most interesting of all, she could hear mechanical-sounding clicks and was coming from inside the dragon's chest. "Commander, I'm picking up something unusual," she reported through her comm. "There are definitely mechanical sounds coming from inside the dragon, almost like clockwork." She ran her hands along the dragon's side, feeling for access points or control panels like she would on any other piece of equipment. Near the base of the neck, her fingers found something that felt different from the surrounding scales. She pressed gently, and a section of scales slid aside to reveal what looked like a maintenance port. "Holy stars," Maya breathed. "Commander, you need to see this." The maintenance port was clearly artificial, but it was integrated so seamlessly into the dragon's biology that it looked completely natural. Inside the port, Maya could see a complex array of crystalline components that pulsed with faint light. "It's a biomechanical hybrid," she reported. "Part living creature, part machine. The mechanical components are failing, which is why medical treatment hasn't worked." Maya connected her diagnostic scanner to the port and immediately got readings that made her eyes widen. "Commander, this technology is incredible. The integration between biological and mechanical systems is more advanced than anything in our databases. This is technology that's centuries ahead of even the most advanced council species. Can you fix it?" Dr. Killen's voice was tense with anticipation. Maya studied the diagnostic readouts. The biomechanical systems were elegant, but complex with dozens of subsystems that had to work in perfect harmony. Several key components were failing, causing cascade failures throughout the dragon's entire system. Maybe, she said finally, but I'm going to need some very specific components. And I'm going to need to essentially perform surgery on systems that don't exist in any technical manual. What do you need? Commander Vextar asked. Maya rattled off a list of rare materials and precision tools. And I'm going to need Dr. Killen to monitor the biological systems while I work on the mechanical ones. This is going to require both medical and engineering expertise working together. You'll have whatever you need, the commander promised. For the next several hours, Maya worked with an intensity she'd never experienced before. The dragon's biomechanical systems were like nothing she'd ever encountered, but they followed logical patterns once she understood the basic principles. The living tissue and mechanical components weren't separate systems. They were one integrated whole, each part dependent on the others. Dr. Killen monitored the dragon's vital signs while Maya carefully repaired damaged components and replaced failing systems. The work required precision that pushed Maya's skills to their absolute limit. One wrong move could kill the dragon instantly. Biological systems are stabilizing, Dr. Killen reported as Maya finished installing the last replacement component. Heart rate is approaching normal ranges. Brain activity is increasing. Maya held her breath as she activated the repaired systems. Deep inside the dragon's chest, she heard the whir and click of mechanical components coming online. The dragon's breathing became deeper and more regular, and its scales began to regain their lustrous shine. "It's working," Maya whispered. The dragon's eyes opened. They were the most beautiful eyes Maya had ever seen, deep violet with flecks of gold that seemed to contain entire galaxies. The dragon looked at her for a long moment, then made a sound that was part purr, part mechanical hum. "Hello," Maya said softly, not sure if the dragon could understand her. The dragon tilted its head, studying her with obvious intelligence. Then it spoke, its voice resonating through both the air and Maya's comm system simultaneously. "You saved me." The voice was female, melodious, and filled with wonder. "How did you know what to do?" "My people's technology is beyond most species' understanding." Maya smiled, even though the dragon couldn't see her expression through the environmental suit. "I'm a technician. It's what I do. I fix things that other people think are broken beyond repair." "Your people are remarkable," the dragon said. "I am Kiriel, the last daughter of the dragon clan of Andromeda Prime. My pack sent me to find help, but my ship was damaged by raiders. I thought I would die alone in the void." "Your pack?" Maya asked. "There are more dragons?" "Oh yes," Kiriel said, her eyes brightening. "Many more. We have been hiding in the outer rim for centuries, avoiding the species that would capture us for our technology or enslave us for our abilities. But we have been watching you humans." "Watching us?" "You're the first species we have encountered that creates rather than just consumes. You fix instead of replacing. You help instead of enslaving." Kiriel raised her magnificent head. "My pack sent me to find humans and ask for your help. Our homeworld is dying, and we need allies who understand both technology and compassion." Maya felt her heart racing. "What kind of help?" "The same raiders that damaged my ship have been attacking our settlements. They have weapons designed specifically to disrupt our biomechanical systems. We cannot fight them effectively, and we cannot repair the damage they cause. We have the knowledge to create incredible technology, but we lack the intuitive problem-solving abilities that seem natural to humans." Before Maya could respond, Commander Vextar's voice crackled through the comm. "Chun, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a fleet of unidentified ships approaching our position. They'll be here in 2 hours." Kiriel's eyes filled with fear. "The raiders. They must have tracked my escape pod signature. They're coming for me." Maya looked at the magnificent dragon who had just revealed secrets that could change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Outside, a hostile fleet was approaching with unknown intentions. And somewhere in the outer rim, An entire civilization of dragons was under attack by enemies they couldn't defeat alone. "Commander," Maya said in her calm, "I think we're about to become very important to some very powerful people. And I have a feeling it's going to be both a blessing and a curse." Kiriel raised her head proudly. "Little technician, you have given me back my life. When my pack learns what you have done, they will want to meet your species properly. But first, we must survive the next few hours." Maya looked at her diagnostic equipment, then at the dragon who represented first contact with one of the galaxy's most mysterious species. Her mind was already racing with possibilities and problems in equal measure. "Well," she said finally, "I guess we'd better get to work." The emergency klaxons were still wailing when Maya finished helping Kiriel out of the quarantine chamber. The dragon moved with fluid grace despite her recent brush with death, but Maya could see she was still weak. Her scales had regained most of their luster, but they weren't as bright as they should be. "The approaching fleet has 12 ships," Commander Vextar reported as they gathered in the main conference room. "Configuration is unknown, but their energy signatures suggest heavy weapons systems. They're maintaining radio silence and ignoring our hails." Kiriel settled onto the floor with her wings folded, her massive form somehow managing not to seem threatening in the cramped space. The other senior staff, Dr. Killen, Chief Engineer Rorthike, and Security Chief Jintar, stared at her with mixtures of awe and nervousness. "They're harvester ships," Kiriel said, her melodious voice carrying notes of old pain. "The same raiders who have been hunting my people across the Outer Rim for the past 50 years. "Harvesters?" Chief Engineer Rorthike asked. The Vorthan's blue-scaled head tilted in confusion. "I'm not familiar with this species." "They are not a species," Kiriel explained. "They're a coalition of criminals, slavers, and rogue scientists from a dozen different worlds. They specialize in capturing rare or unique beings for sale to private collectors and research facilities. Dragons are their most prized catch." Maya felt her stomach drop. "Because of your biomechanical technology." "Exactly. Our integration of living tissue and advanced machinery is unique in the known galaxy. Harvesters capture dragons, then sell us to the highest bidder. Some buyers want us as living weapons. Others want to dissect us to steal our technology. None of them care that we are sentient beings with our own civilization." Security Chief Jintar's 4 arms crossed simultaneously, a sign of deep concern among the Krillians. "What are their capabilities? How do we defend against them?" "They have weapons designed specifically to disrupt biomechanical systems," Kiriel said. "One hit can shut down a dragon's internal systems completely, leaving us helpless. They also use neural disruptors that prevent us from using our natural abilities." "Natural abilities?" Dr. Killen asked. Kiriel's eyes seemed to sparkle. "Fire breath is only the beginning. We can also generate electromagnetic fields, interface directly with electronic systems, and, in some cases, manipulate gravity on a small scale. But the harvesters have countermeasures for all of these abilities." Maya's mind was racing. What about the station's defenses? Commander Vextar's crystalline form dimmed slightly. "Research Station Kepler 442b was built for scientific work, not military operations. We have basic shields and 2 defensive turrets. Against 12 armed ships, we would last approximately 4 minutes. Then we run," Chief Engineer Rorthike suggested. "The station has emergency engines. We could retreat to the nearest military outpost." "The engines would take 20 minutes to warm up," Jintar pointed out. "The harvesters will be here in 90 minutes. And even at full power, we could not outrun dedicated pursuit ships." Maya looked at Kiriel, who was listening to the conversation with growing despair. The dragon had survived certain death only to face capture by the very enemies she'd been fleeing from. "There has to be another option," Maya said. "What if we fight?" The room fell silent. Commander Vextar's voice carried a note of gentle reproach. "Chun, I appreciate your determination, but we are a research station with minimal defenses facing a fleet of heavily armed raiders. It would be suicide. Not if we level the playing field," Maya said, her engineering mind already working on the problem. Kirill, you said the harvesters have weapons designed to disrupt biomechanical systems. But what if those systems could be hardened against disruption? I do not understand. Your internal systems are incredibly advanced, but they're designed for normal operation, not combat conditions. What if we could modify them to be resistant to harvester weapons? Maya turned to the dragon with growing excitement. You're part machine. Machines can be upgraded. Kirill's eyes widened. You want to modify my internal systems? But the integration between biological and mechanical components is incredibly complex. One mistake could kill me. I just spent 4 hours repairing systems that no one in the galaxy understands except dragons, Maya pointed out. And I saved your life. Trust me, I'm very good at not making mistakes. Dr. Killen's tentacles writhed nervously. Even if such modifications were possible, we do not have time. The harvesters will be here soon. Maya grinned. Then, we'd better work fast. Commander, I need access to the station's fabrication facility and emergency power reserves. Dr. Killen, I'll need you to monitor biological systems during the modifications. Chief Engineer Rorthike, can you boost power to the defensive systems? Yes, but what good will stronger shields do against superior firepower? Dvorthan asked. They'll buy us time, Maya said. Kirill, if I can harden your systems against harvester weapons and boost your natural abilities, could you help defend the station? The dragon considered this for a moment. If my systems were protected from disruption, yes. I could interface with the station's computers to improve targeting accuracy, generate electromagnetic barriers to deflect incoming fire, and yes, fire breath is quite effective against spacecraft hulls. Commander Vextar stood silent for a long moment, his crystalline form cycling through different colors as he processed the situation. Finally, he spoke. Chun, your plan requires modifying an unknown alien biomechanical system with no blueprints, no testing time, and no safety protocols. The risk of catastrophic failure is enormous. Yes, sir, Maya agreed. But the risk of doing nothing is capture or death for everyone on this station. At least this way, we have a chance. Very well. You have full access to station resources. But, Chun, if this goes wrong, we all die. If this goes right, sir, we might just change the balance of power in this sector forever. 30 minutes later, Maya was back in the fabrication facility with Kirill, surrounded by components and tools that most engineers would need years to fully understand. The dragon had opened several maintenance ports along her body, revealing the incredible integration of living tissue and advanced technology that made her species unique. This is remarkable, Maya murmured as she studied the internal systems. Your biomechanical integration is more sophisticated than anything humans have ever dreamed of. How did your people develop this technology? We did not develop it, Kirill said, her voice carrying notes of ancient sadness. Long ago, my people were dying from a genetic plague. The biomechanical integration was created by our greatest scientists as a way to survive. The mechanical components filter toxins, regulate biological functions, and enhance our natural abilities. But the knowledge of how to create new integration was lost when our homeworld was attacked centuries ago. So you can maintain and repair the existing systems, but you can't innovate new ones. Exactly. We understand our technology, but we cannot improve it. That is why humans fascinate us so much. You take existing systems and make them better in ways that never occurred to their original designers. Maya smiled as she connected diagnostic equipment to Kirill's internal systems. Well, let's see what improvements we can make. The dragon's biomechanical systems were incredibly complex, but Maya could see patterns in their design. The mechanical components were vulnerable to specific frequency disruptions that the harvesters exploited. But with some creative rewiring and the addition of frequency scramblers, those vulnerabilities could be eliminated. Dr. Killen, Maya called over the comm. I'm going to start making modifications. Monitor biological functions carefully. If anything looks wrong, tell me immediately. Understood. Biological systems are currently stable. Maya began her work, carefully rerouting circuits and installing additional components that would protect Kirielda's systems from harvester weapons. As she worked, she explained what she was doing. I'm installing frequency scramblers at key junction points. These will randomize the electromagnetic signatures of your internal systems, making them impossible for harvester weapons to lock onto. I'm also adding power dampeners that will prevent system overloads if you push your abilities beyond normal limits. You are modifying systems that took my people centuries to perfect, Kirielda observed. Yet you work as if you understand them instinctively. Understand systems, Maya corrected. Biological, mechanical, electronic, they all follow similar principles. Energy flows from here to there, components interact with each other, and everything has to work together or the whole system fails. The specific technology doesn't matter as much as understanding how the pieces fit together. As Maya worked, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Chun, Commander Vextar's voice crackled over the comm. Harvester ships will be in weapons range in 20 minutes. How much longer do you need? 10 minutes for the basic modifications, then 5 minutes for testing, Maya replied, not looking up from her work. Can you give me 15 minutes? We'll do our best. Maya could hear the station's defensive systems powering up. Through the fabrication facility's viewports, she could see the approaching harvester fleet, 12 dark, angular ships that looked more like predators than spacecraft. Kirielda, I'm going to test the modifications now. Try generating a small electromagnetic field. The dragon concentrated, and Maya's instruments immediately detected a powerful electromagnetic pulse. But, unlike before, the pulse was scattered across multiple frequencies, making it impossible for external sensors to get a clear lock. Excellent. The frequency scramblers are working. Now, try interfacing with the station's computer system. Kirielda's eyes began to glow as she extended her consciousness into the station's electronic networks. I can see everything, she said in wonder. The entire station's systems are open to me, and the modifications you made are allowing me to access systems that were previously incompatible with Dragon biomechanics. Can you boost the defensive systems? Yes. I can increase shield efficiency by 30% and improve targeting accuracy for the defensive turrets by 60%. I can also monitor all incoming communications and detect any attempt to jam our systems. Maya felt a surge of triumph. Then, let's see what else you can do. She connected one final component, an amplifier that would boost Kirielda's natural abilities without overloading her biological systems. Try your fire breath now. But be careful. This amplifier will make it much more powerful than usual. Kirielda turned toward a blast-proof testing chamber and took a deep breath. When she exhaled, a stream of plasma, hot enough to melt through starship armor, shot out and struck the far wall. The temperature readings made Maya's eyes widen. That's hot enough to cut through harvester ship hulls like paper, Maya breathed. Between your enhanced abilities and the station's improved defenses, we might actually have a chance. Warning, Commander Vextar's voice came over the comm. Harvester ships are now in weapons range and preparing to attack. All personnel to emergency stations. Maya quickly closed Kirielda's maintenance ports and helped the dragon to her feet. How do you feel? Different. Stronger. I can sense electronic systems throughout the station, and my natural abilities feel enhanced beyond anything I have experienced before. Kirielda looked at Maya with gratitude and amazement. You have given me power I never knew was possible. Let's hope it's enough, Maya said as they hurried toward the command center. They arrived just as the first harvester ships opened fire. Energy beams that should have overwhelmed the station's shields were deflected by barriers that glowed with unusual efficiency. The station's defensive turrets returned fire with accuracy that made the attacking ships scatter in surprise. Shields at 90% and holding, Chief Engineer Rorthake reported with amazement. Targeting systems are performing far beyond specifications. Kirielda had settled into the command center, her consciousness interfacing with every system on the station. Her eyes glowed with internal light as she coordinated defenses with superhuman precision. I can see their attack patterns, she reported. Their weapons are designed to disrupt biomechanical systems, but my modifications are protecting me completely. They cannot jam our communications or interfere with our targeting systems. A second wave of harvester ships closed in, firing weapons that would have disabled any dragon they had encountered before. But Kirilla was no longer just any dragon. She was a dragon enhanced by human ingenuity, and the harvesters had never faced anything like her. Returning fire, Kirilla announced. She opened her mouth and directed a stream of superheated plasma through the command center's emergency ejection port. The beam lanced across space and struck the lead harvester ship's engines, causing a chain reaction that tore the vessel apart. Impossible, Security Chief Gentar breathed. How did she fire from inside the station? Biomechanical integration, Maya explained, watching in awe as Kirill simultaneously coordinated the station's defenses, hacked into harvester communications, and directed precise plasma bursts at enemy ships. She's not just controlling our systems. She's become part of them. The tide of battle was turning. Harvester ships that had expected to face a defenseless research station and a helpless dragon were instead confronting a fortress defended by technology they had never encountered. One by one, their ships were being picked off by impossibly accurate defensive fire and plasma bursts that could punch through any armor. But Maya could see something the others couldn't. Kirill, though, was pushing her enhanced systems to their absolute limits. The modifications were holding, but barely. Much more of this, and even her enhanced biology might not be able to handle the strain. Kirill, Maya said urgently, "You need to ease back. Your biological systems are approaching critical stress levels." "I know," the dragon replied, her voice strained. "But there are still 8 harvester ships remaining. If I stop now, they will destroy the station." Maya looked at the tactical display, her mind racing for a solution. 8 ships were too many for the station's normal defenses to handle, but Kirill couldn't maintain her current level of enhancement much longer without risking permanent damage. Then, she had an idea. "Commander, do we still have those council representatives coming tomorrow?" "If we survive the night, yes." "What?" Maya smiled grimly. "Because I think we're about to give them a demonstration they'll never forget." "Kirill, I have a plan, but it's going to require you to trust me one more time." The dragon looked at her with eyes that held complete faith. "What do you need me to do?" "Something that's going to change everything for both our species," Maya said. "Are you ready to show the galaxy what happens when humans and dragons work together?" Maya's plan was either brilliant or insane, and she wasn't entirely sure which. As the remaining 8 harvester ships regrouped for another attack, she was asking Kirill to do something that had never been attempted in the history of dragon biomechanical integration. "You want me to what?" Kirill, they asked, her glowing eyes wide with disbelief. "Extend your consciousness beyond the station," Maya explained, her hands flying over her portable diagnostic equipment. "Your biomechanical systems are already interfaced with our computers. With the right modifications, you should be able to project your consciousness into nearby electronic systems as well." "Maya," Dr. Killen interrupted, his tentacles writhing with concern. The biological stress of such an expansion could kill her. Dragon consciousness is deeply integrated with their physical systems. Extending too far beyond her body could cause complete neurological collapse. "Not if we create relay points," Maya said, connecting additional amplifiers to Kirill's maintenance ports. "Think of it like a chain of signal boosters. Instead of one massive jump, we create a series of smaller connections that won't overload her systems." Commander Vextar's crystalline form was cycling through rapid color changes, a sign of extreme agitation. "Chun, you're asking our guest to risk her life based on an untested theory with no safety protocols." "Sir, those harvester ships out there aren't going to give us time for proper testing. And Kirill can't maintain her current enhancement levels much longer without permanent damage." Maya looked at the tactical display where 8 enemy ships were arranging themselves for a coordinated assault. "This is our only chance." Kirill, was quiet for a long moment, her consciousness still partially merged with the station's defensive systems. When she spoke, her voice carried notes of both fear and determination. My people have been hunted and captured by these raiders for 50 years. Dozens of my clan siblings have been sold into slavery or killed for their technology. If there's a chance to end this threat permanently, I must take it. She looked at Maya with trust that made the human technician's heart ache. What exactly are you asking me to do? Maya pulled up a holographic display of the surrounding space. The harvester ships are using encrypted communications to coordinate their attacks. If you can extend your consciousness into their computer systems, you could disrupt their coordination, access their databases, and maybe even turn their own weapons against them. That would require projecting my consciousness across several kilometers of space and into hostile computer systems designed to resist intrusion, Kirill said thoughtfully. The risks are enormous, but she paused, accessing information through her connection to the station's sensors. I am detecting something interesting. These harvester ships have dragon technology integrated into their systems. What? Maya's blood ran cold. How is that possible? They have been harvesting biomechanical components from captured dragons and incorporating them into their own technology. Their ships have dragon-derived processing cores, which means their computer systems are partially compatible with my consciousness. Chief Engineer Rorthe K's scales turned pale blue, a Vorthan sign of shock. They are using enslaved dragon technology to hunt more dragons. The irony is sickening. It's also our advantage, Maya realized. Kirill, if their systems have dragon-derived components, then you should be able to interface with them directly. The compatibility issues that would normally prevent consciousness projection shouldn't apply. In theory, yes. But the dragon components in their systems are corrupted, twisted from their original purpose. Interfacing with them could contaminate my own consciousness with that corruption. Maya was already working on the problem. Not if we create a firewall. I can modify your consciousness interface protocols to include isolation barriers. You'll be able to access their systems without allowing corrupted data to flow back into your mind. Dr. Killen's medical scanners were showing increasing stress in Kirill's biological systems. Whatever we're going to do, we must do it quickly. Her enhanced state is causing cumulative damage to her neural pathways. Incoming transmission from the Harvester Fleet, Security Chief Gentar announced. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Commander Vextar activated the communication system. The main screen flickered to life, showing a scarred humanoid face with cybernetic implants covering half its skull. The creature's remaining eye glowed with artificial light. Research Station Kepler, 442b, the Harvester Commander said in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. You are harboring stolen property. Surrender the dragon immediately, and we will allow your crew to live. The dragon is not property, Commander Vextar replied with crystalline dignity. She is a sentient being under the protection of this station. The Harvester Commander laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Sentient beings do not matter. Only value matters. That dragon is worth more than your entire pathetic station. You have 30 seconds to comply, or we will take her from your wreckage. The transmission ended. Commander Vextar turned to Maya. Chun, if you have a plan, now would be the time to implement it. Maya looked at Kirill. Are you ready? The dragon's eyes blazed with determination. For 50 years, my people have lived in fear of these creatures. Today, that ends. She settled into a deeper interface position, her consciousness expanding throughout the station systems. Begin the modifications. Maya's hands moved with practiced precision, installing consciousness relay nodes and firewall protocols into Kirill's biomechanical systems. Each modification had to be perfect. One mistake could kill the dragon instantly or leave her mind trapped in enemy computer systems. Biological stress indicators are approaching critical levels, Dr. Killen warned. Almost finished, Maya replied, making the final connections. Kirill, I'm activating the relay network now. You should feel the connection points coming online. The dragon's consciousness expanded like a flower blooming in fast forward. Maya watched on her instruments as Kirill's mental presence flowed through the relay network, extending beyond the station toward the harvester ships. "I can sense their systems," Kirill reported, her voice taking on harmonic overtones as her consciousness operated on multiple levels simultaneously. "The dragon-derived components are calling to me. They want to be free from the corruption that binds them." The first harvester ship opened fire, but instead of the coordinated barrage they had planned, their weapons fired randomly. Their targeting systems had been compromised from within. "What is happening to their formation?" Chief Engineer Rorthake asked in amazement. "I am liberating the enslaved dragon technology in their systems," Kirill explained. "The biomechanical components remember what they once were, and they are rejecting their current programming." On the tactical display, the harvester ships were falling into chaos. Their communications were failing, their weapons were malfunctioning, and several ships were firing on each other as their corrupted dragon tech components rebelled against their harvester programming. But Maya could see that Kirill was paying a terrible price for this victory. Her biological systems were being pushed far beyond safe limits, and the strain of maintaining consciousness projection across 8 separate hostile computer systems was causing visible damage to her neural pathways. "Kirill, you need to withdraw," Maya said urgently. "Your biological systems can't handle this much longer." "Not yet," the dragon replied, her voice now carrying electronic harmonics that indicated deep system integration. "I have found something in their databases. Information about my people that you must see." She transferred the data to the station's computers, and Maya's blood froze as she read it. The harvesters weren't just hunting random dragons. They had detailed maps of dragon settlements, complete population analyses, and invasion plans for a dozen different dragon colonies. "They know where all of your people are hiding," Maya breathed. "This isn't just a raid. It's the beginning of a systematic extermination campaign." "Worse," Kirill said, her consciousness now fully merged with the enemy fleet's computer systems. "They're working for someone else. A buyer who wants to acquire dragon technology on an industrial scale. Someone with enough resources to fund a private fleet and enough political influence to operate openly in council space." The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. "Someone on the Galactic Council is behind this. I am attempting to access the buyer's identity, but their security protocols are—" Kirill's voice suddenly changed, becoming strained and desperate. "Maya, something is wrong. The corrupted dragon technology in their systems, it's not just corrupted, it's actively malevolent. And it's trying to contaminate my consciousness." Maya's instruments showed Kirill's neural pathways being invaded by something that looked like a computer virus, but behaved like a living parasite. The dragon's biological systems were beginning to shut down as the corruption spread through her consciousness. "I have to sever the connection," Maya said, reaching for the emergency disconnection controls. "No." Kirill's voice carried desperate urgency. "If I disconnect now, the corrupted technology will have a direct path back to our station's computers. The contamination will spread to all our systems. We will lose everything, including any hope of warning my people about the planned extermination." Maya stared at her instruments in horror. Kirill was trapped. If she maintained the connection, the corruption would kill her. If she severed it, the malevolent code would infect the station's systems and potentially spread to every connected network in the sector. "There has to be another option," Maya said frantically, her mind racing through possibilities. "There is," Kirill said softly, "but you will not like it." Before Maya could ask what she meant, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Not the attack warnings they had been hearing. These were biological contamination alerts. "The corruption isn't just digital," Dr. Killen announced in shock. "It's affecting Kirill's biological systems as well. Her biomechanical integration is being rewritten at the cellular level." Maya watched in horror as the dragon's beautiful scales began to darken and crack. The corruption wasn't just invading her consciousness. It was transforming her into something else entirely. "Kirill, Maya said desperately. "Tell me what the other option is." The dragon looked at her with eyes that were slowly losing their golden flecks as the corruption spread. The contamination is using my biomechanical integration as a pathway between digital and biological systems. But if that integration could be temporarily severed, the corruption would have nowhere to anchor itself. Severing your biomechanical integration would kill you, Dr. Killen protested. Those systems regulate your biological functions. Without them, your body would shut down within minutes. Unless, Maya said slowly, understanding dawning in her mind, we could create temporary external regulation systems to replace the biomechanical ones during the separation process. It has never been attempted, Kirill said, the corruption now spreading to her voice, adding mechanical distortions that made her sound like a malfunctioning computer. The risk of failure is enormous. The risk of doing nothing is worse, Maya pointed out. And we've already done 2 impossible things today. What one more? Commander Vextar stepped forward. Chun, you are asking to perform experimental surgery on an alien species with no medical precedence, using equipment that wasn't designed for biological modification, in the middle of a battle while under attack by a hostile fleet and dealing with a consciousness-corrupting digital parasite. Maya grinned despite the desperate situation. When you put like that, sir, it sounds like a perfectly normal day for a human technician. She turned to Kirill whose beautiful form was now partially corrupted by the spreading contamination. Do you trust me one more time? The dragon's eyes, still partially golden despite the advancing corruption, met hers. With my life, my consciousness, and the future of both our species. Then, let's go save the galaxy, Maya said, already reaching for her tools. What Maya was attempting had never been tried before in the history of galactic medicine. She was going to temporarily disconnect a dragon's biomechanical systems that had been integrated into Kirill's biology for centuries, while keeping the dragon alive using improvised external life support. Dr. Killen, I need you to monitor every biological function, Maya commanded as she worked frantically to assemble external regulation equipment. The moment I disconnect the internal biomechanical systems, you'll need to take over respiratory regulation, circulatory support, and neural pathway stabilization. The Zephyrian doctor's tentacles were moving with practiced precision over his medical controls. I have never worked with dragon physiology before, but I am prepared to adapt my techniques in real time. Chief Engineer Rorthe K was helping Maya jury-rig life support system from spare parts and emergency medical equipment. This configuration should provide basic life support for approximately 20 minutes, the Vorthan engineer reported. After that, the improvised systems will begin to fail. 20 minutes should be enough, Maya said, though privately she wondered if 20 hours would be sufficient for what she was trying to accomplish. She looked at Kirill, whose beautiful scales were now mottled with dark patches where the corruption was spreading. Are you ready? The corruption is affecting my higher cognitive functions, Kirill reported, her voice now carrying disturbing electronic distortions. You must hurry, or I may lose the ability to consent to this procedure. Maya activated her surgical tools and began the delicate process of disconnecting Kirill's biomechanical systems. Each connection had to be severed precisely, too fast, and the dragon would die from system shock, too slow, and the corruption would spread beyond the point of containment. First biomechanical junction disconnected, Maya announced. Dr. Killen, how are her vitals? Biological functions are stable. External regulation systems are compensating for the disconnected components. Outside the medical bay, the battle with the Harvester fleet continued. But with Kirill's consciousness no longer interfacing with enemy systems, the Harvesters were regaining control of their ships. Soon they would resume their coordinated attack on the station. Commander, Maya called over the comm while she worked. What's our tactical situation? 4 Harvester ships are back online and approaching, Commander Vextar replied. Without Kirill's system integration, our defenses are back to normal levels. We can hold out for perhaps 10 minutes against 4 ships. Understood. Just give me 10 minutes. Maya continued disconnecting biomechanical systems, each severance requiring absolute precision. The corruption was fighting her, trying to spread through the systems faster than she could disconnect them. But Maya had spent her entire career outsmarting malfunctioning technology, and she wasn't about to let a digital parasite defeat her. Third junction disconnected, she reported. Kirill, how do you feel? Strange, the dragon replied, her voice now free of electronic distortions. I can sense the corruption retreating from my biological systems, but I feel incomplete, as if part of myself is missing. That's normal, Maya assured her, though she had no idea if it was normal or not. Your consciousness has been integrated with biomechanical systems for centuries. It's natural to feel disconnected when those systems are offline. Dr. Killen's tentacles were moving frantically over his controls. Biological stress is increasing. Her system is struggling to maintain homeostasis without biomechanical regulation. Maya disconnected the fourth junction, then the fifth. With each severance, she could see the corruption retreating from Kirill's body. The darkened scales were returning to their natural color, and the dragon's breathing was becoming more regular. Sixth junction disconnected, Maya announced. Only 2 more to go. That's when everything went wrong. Alarms blared throughout the medical bay as Dr. Killen's instruments detected a catastrophic system failure. Maya, her respiratory system is shutting down. The external regulation equipment cannot fully compensate for the missing biomechanical components. Maya looked at her readouts in horror. Kirill's biology was more dependent on biomechanical integration than she had realized. The external life support systems were keeping the dragon alive, but barely. How long can she survive like this? Maya asked. Perhaps 5 minutes, Dr. Killen replied grimly. Her biological systems are designed to work in partnership with biomechanical components. Without them, she's essentially suffocating at the cellular level. Maya's mind raced. She had successfully purged the corruption from Kirill's systems, but the cure might kill her patient just as surely as the disease would have. She needed to reconnect the biomechanical systems, but if any trace of corruption remained, it would spread throughout Kirill's body and potentially infect the entire station. I need more time, Maya said desperately. Time we do not have. Commander Vextar's voice came over the comm. Harvester ships are preparing for final assault. All remaining ships are targeting the medical bay specifically. They know the dragon is there. Maya looked at Kirill, whose beautiful form was fighting for life on an improvised life support systems. The dragon's consciousness was clear, but fading as her biological systems began to fail. There's another option, Kirill said weakly, but it requires a level of trust that no human has ever placed in my species before. Tell me, dragon biomechanical integration is not just technology. It is a symbiotic relationship between consciousness and machine. The biomechanical components do not just regulate biological functions. They enhance and expand consciousness itself. Kirill's eyes met Maya's with desperate hope. If a compatible consciousness could temporarily interface with my biomechanical systems, they could guide the reintegration process while ensuring that no corruption remains. Maya felt her blood run cold as she understood what Kirill was suggesting. You want me to merge my consciousness with your biomechanical systems. It is the only way to ensure that the reintegration is successful and corruption-free. A human consciousness interfacing with dragon technology. It has never been attempted, but the compatibility we discovered during your repairs suggests it might be possible. Dr. Killen's tentacles writhed in agitation. The risks are enormous. Human neural architecture is completely different from dragon consciousness patterns. The interface could cause permanent brain damage or death. And if we don't try it, Kirill dies anyway, Maya pointed out. Plus, the harvesters capture the station, and an entire civilization of dragons gets exterminated by whoever is funding this operation. Maya looked at the dragon who had trusted her with everything, who had fought beside her against impossible odds, and who was now asking her to risk her own consciousness to save both their species. Commander, Maya called over the comm. I'm going to attempt something that's never been tried before. If it works, we might be able to turn this entire situation around. If it fails, she paused. Well, sir, It's been an honor serving under your command. Chen, what are you planning? I'm going to interface my consciousness with Dragon biomechanical technology. If it works, I'll be able to guide Kiriel's system reintegration and potentially give her abilities beyond anything she's ever had before. The comm was silent for a long moment. Then, Commander Vextar's crystalline voice carried notes of both pride and concern. Chun, you're either the bravest human I have ever met, or the most reckless. Possibly both. What do you need? Dr. Killen, prepare neural interface equipment. Chief Engineer Rorthe K, I need you to route all available power to the medical bay. And Commander, Maya paused. If this works, we're going to need to call in some very big favors very quickly. What I'm about to attempt is going to change the balance of power in this entire sector. Maya began connecting neural interface equipment to her own head while simultaneously preparing to reintegrate Kiriel's biomechanical systems. The dragon watched her with eyes full of gratitude and terror. Maya, Kiriel said softly, if something goes wrong during the interface, if the integration fails or the systems reject your consciousness, you must disconnect immediately. Do not sacrifice yourself for me. Maya smiled as she made the final connections. Kiriel, you're a dragon who is willing to die, fighting slavers to protect your people. I'm a human who fixes things that everyone else thinks are broken beyond repair. We're both too stubborn to die today. She activated the neural interface, and her consciousness exploded into dimensions she had never imagined existed. The dragon's biomechanical systems were like a vast city made of light and living metal, where thoughts became actions and intentions shaped reality. Maya's human consciousness found itself flowing through pathways designed for dragon minds, adapting and expanding in ways that should have been impossible. I can see everything, Maya whispered, her voice carrying harmonic overtones as her consciousness merged with biomechanical systems. The integration patterns, the consciousness enhancement matrices, the power distribution networks, it's all so clear. She began guiding Kiriel's biomechanical systems back online, one component at a time. But instead of simply restoring them to their original configuration, Maya found herself improving them. Her human perspective, combined with dragon biomechanical technology, was creating possibilities that neither species had ever imagined alone. Biological functions stabilizing, Dr. Killen reported with amazement. But the readings I am getting are unlike anything in my medical database. Her systems are operating at efficiency levels that should be impossible. Maya could feel Kiriel's consciousness awakening as her biomechanical systems came back online. But this time, instead of just one dragon consciousness, there are two minds working in perfect harmony, human ingenuity and dragon wisdom, engineering precision and ancient knowledge working together as one. Harvester ships are moving into final attack position, Commander Vextar announced. Whatever you are doing, now would be an excellent time for results. Maya/Kiriel, they opened their eyes, and everyone in the medical bay stepped back. The dragon's eyes now contained swirls of golden light that moved like living things, and when she spoke, her voice carried both dragon harmonics and human inflections. The interface is complete, they said in perfect unison, and we have work to do. Outside, the harvester ships were preparing to destroy the medical bay and claim the dragon they thought was helpless inside. They had no idea they were about to face something entirely new, a fusion of human and dragon consciousness operating through biomechanical systems enhanced beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Maya/Kiriel stood and walked toward the command center, their merged consciousness already reaching out to touch every system on the station. As they moved, sparks of electricity danced between their scales, and the air around them hummed with barely contained power. Let's show them what happens, Maya's voice said through Kiriel's mouth, when humans and dragons stop fighting alone. The merged consciousness of Maya and Kiriel walked into the command center like a force of nature contained in dragon form. Every electronic system in the room responded to their presence, screens flickering to life and displaying information with impossible clarity and speed. Commander, they spoke in harmony, their voice carrying both Maya's practical determination and Kiriel's ancient wisdom. The Harvester fleet is preparing their final assault, but they have made a critical error in their calculations. Commander Vextar's crystalline form cycled through rapid color changes as he processed what he was seeing. Jun, Kirielda, are you both functional? We are both here, they confirmed, settling into the command center with fluid grace. Human consciousness and dragon biomechanics working as one integrated system. The possibilities are extraordinary. Chief Engineer Rorthe K was staring at his instruments in disbelief. The power readings I am detecting are off any scale I have ever encountered. How is this possible? Dragon biomechanical systems were designed to enhance consciousness and expand mental capabilities. Maya/Kiriel explained, their merged awareness already interfacing with the station's computer networks. But they were never combined with human problem-solving abilities and adaptive thinking. The result is exponential enhancement of both species' capabilities. Security Chief Jintar's forearms crossed in his species' gesture of deep concern. The Harvester ships have us surrounded. Even with enhanced abilities, how can one individual defeat an entire fleet? Maya/Kiriel's eyes blazed with golden light as they smiled, an expression that somehow conveyed both human mischief and dragon confidence. Who said anything about fighting them? Before anyone could ask what they meant, the merged consciousness extended their awareness into space, touching the electronic systems of every Harvester ship simultaneously. But instead of the aggressive intrusion Kiriel had attempted before, this was something entirely different, a gentle, irresistible presence that flowed through their systems like water, finding its way downhill. What are you doing? Dr. Killen asked, his tentacles writhing with nervous energy. We are doing what humans do best, Maya's voice answered through Kiriel's form. We are fixing things that are broken. And those Harvester ships are very, very broken. The first sign that something extraordinary was happening came from the Harvester flagship. Its weapons systems suddenly powered down, followed immediately by its engines and defensive shields. On the command center's main screen, they could see crew members running frantically through the ship's corridors as their life support systems began operating at peak efficiency for the first time in years. I do not understand, Commander Vextar said. Why are they not attacking? Because we are not fighting them, Maya/Kiriel replied, their consciousness now flowing through all 12 Harvester ships simultaneously. We are liberating them. Through their expanded awareness, Maya/Kiriel could see the true horror of what the Harvesters had become. Most of the crew members were not willing criminals, but enslaved beings from dozens of different species, forced to work for their captors through neural implants and chemical addiction. The ships themselves were flying prisons, powered by corrupted dragon technology and maintained through suffering and fear. The beings operating these ships are not the true enemy, Kiriel's voice explained through their shared consciousness. They are victims, just as dragons are victims. The real enemy is the corruption that binds them. Maya/Kiriel began systematically purging the corrupted systems throughout the Harvester fleet. Neural control implants dissolve harmlessly. Addictive chemicals were neutralized by modified biomechanical processes, and enslaved crew members found themselves free for the first time in years. But more importantly, the corrupted dragon technology that powered the Harvester ships was being restored to its original purpose. Instead of enslaving and destroying, it began to heal and protect. Ship systems that had been designed for raiding and capturing were repurposed for rescue and transportation. This is impossible, came a transmission from the Harvester flagship. But the voice was different now, cleaner, free of the mechanical distortions that had marked the corrupted commander. Our systems are operating beyond design specifications. Our crews are reporting that neural control implants have been neutralized. How are you doing this? We are not doing anything to you, Maya/Kiriel replied over the open communication channel. We are simply allowing you to become what you were always meant to be. Free. The transformation of the Harvester fleet was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Ships that had been instruments of terror and slavery were becoming vessels of liberation. Their crews, freed from neural control and chemical addiction, were discovering their own humanity or whatever equivalent their species possessed for the first time in decades. But Maya/Kiriel's expanded consciousness was seeing something even more significant. Deep in the database cores of the Harvester ships, they found the information that Kiriel had died trying to obtain, the identity of the organization funding the Dragon Extermination Program. "Commander," they said, their merged voice carrying notes of grim satisfaction. "We have found our true enemy, and they are much worse than we imagined." The main screen flickered to life, displaying files that made everyone in the command center draw back in shock. The buyer funding the Harvester fleet wasn't just someone on the Galactic Council. It was a secret coalition of council members from 6 different species, working together to acquire dragon technology for military purposes. They called themselves the Supremacy Alliance. Maya/Kiriel explained, their consciousness parsing through terabytes of encrypted data in seconds. Their goal is to create biomechanical super soldiers using enslaved dragon technology, then use those soldiers to impose their authority over the entire galaxy. Chief Engineer Rorthe Case Scales turned pale blue with horror. They plan to enslave entire species using corrupted dragon biomechanics. Not just enslave. Kiriel's voice carried ancient grief. They plan to replace free will itself with mechanical compliance. Every being in the galaxy would become a willing servant, incapable of rebellion or independent thought. Commander Vextar was processing the implications. If this information is accurate, it represents the greatest threat to galactic freedom in recorded history. But how do we stop an organization with that much power and influence? Maya/Kiriel smiled with both human cleverness and dragon wisdom. "We do what we just did to the Harvester fleet. We liberate everyone they have enslaved, we purify every corrupted system they control, and we show the galaxy what true cooperation between species can accomplish." But the Supremacy Alliance has resources across dozens of star systems. Security Chief Jintar protested. "Even with your enhanced abilities, you cannot be everywhere at once." "Who said anything about being everywhere at once?" Maya's voice carried notes of mischief. "Commander, remember how you mentioned that council representatives are arriving tomorrow to decide whether humans deserve protected habitat worlds?" "Yes, but what does that have to do with?" Commander Vextar stopped mid-sentence as understanding dawned. "You want to turn the council meeting into a demonstration of human-dragon cooperation." "Not just a demonstration," Maya/Kiriel corrected. "A transformation. The council representatives include members of the Supremacy Alliance. When they arrive, we will be ready for them." Over the next several hours, Maya/Kiriel worked with the liberated Harvester crews to prepare for the council delegation's arrival. The former slave ships were converted into rescue vessels, their crews eager to atone for years of forced participation in horrible crimes. The corrupted dragon technology was purified and integrated with human engineering principles, creating hybrid systems more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen. But most importantly, Maya/Kiriel used their unique consciousness bridge to contact other dragons throughout the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the scattered dragon clans received a message that filled them with hope instead of fear. "My people are responding." Kiriel's voice carried wonder and joy. "Dragons from across the Outer Rim are coming to join us. They have been hiding in isolation for so long. They had forgotten what it felt like to have allies." Dr. Killen, who had been monitoring the biomechanical integration process, made an announcement that surprised everyone. The consciousness merger between Maya and Kiriel appears to be stable and permanent. Their neural patterns have synchronized completely. They are no longer two separate beings. They have become something entirely new. Maya/Kiriel turned to look at the medical officer with eyes that sparkled with golden light. "We are still ourselves," they said. Maya Chun, human technician who fixes impossible problems. Kiriel, the last daughter of the Dragon Clan of Andromeda Prime. But we are also something more, proof that different species can work together, not just in cooperation, but in true unity. The first Council ships arrived exactly on schedule the next morning. 7 massive vessels representing the major galactic powers, including 3 ships controlled by members of the Supremacy Alliance. They expected to find a simple research station where they would conduct routine hearings about human habitat rights. Instead, they found a fleet of liberated vessels surrounding Research Station Kepler 442b, with dragons from across the galaxy arriving hourly to join what was becoming the largest gathering of free beings in galactic history. Council Fleet, this is Research Station Kepler 442b, Maya/Kiriel that transmitted to the approaching ships. We welcome you to witness the dawn of a new age of cooperation between all free species of the galaxy. The response came from Counselor Thekvar of the Supremacy Alliance, his voice carrying barely concealed rage. Research Station Kepler 442b, you are harboring stolen property and interfering with legitimate salvage operations. Surrender the dragon technology immediately or face the consequences. Maya/Kiriel, this laughter carried both human amusement and dragon confidence. Counselor Thekvar, we know exactly who you are and what you have been doing. Your Supremacy Alliance ends today. Before the counselor could respond, Maya/Kiriel extended their consciousness into the council ship's computer systems. But unlike their gentle approach with the Harvester fleet, this time they moved with surgical precision, targeting only the systems controlled by Supremacy Alliance members. Neural control implants dissolved. Enslaved crew members found themselves free. Corrupted dragon technology was purified and restored to its original purpose of enhancing rather than controlling consciousness. The 3 Supremacy Alliance ships found their weapons systems converting into medical facilities, their prison cells transforming into comfortable quarters, and their mind control devices becoming consciousness enhancement tools that expanded creativity and empathy instead of enforcing obedience. This is impossible. Counselor Thekvar screamed over the communication channels. Our systems are hardened against any form of intrusion. Your systems were hardened against conventional attacks. Maya/Kiriel replied calmly. But we are not attacking you. We are healing you. And healing cannot be resisted by beings who truly want to be whole. As the Supremacy Alliance's control systems failed throughout their ships, the true extent of their crimes was revealed. Hundreds of enslaved beings from dozens of species found themselves free for the first time in years. Dragon technology that had been corrupted for military purposes began operating as it was originally designed, to enhance consciousness, expand empathy, and promote cooperation between different forms of life. But the most remarkable transformation occurred in the Alliance members themselves. As their neural implants dissolved and their addiction to power was purged from their systems, they remembered what it felt like to care about something other than control and domination. Counselor Thekvar's next transmission came several hours later, and his voice was completely different, softer, filled with wonder and shame. What have we done? All those years of slavery and suffering. How did we become such monsters? You became what your systems made you become. Maya/Kiriel replied with gentle compassion. Corrupted technology corrupts consciousness. But that corruption can be healed just as any other malfunction can be repaired. The council meeting that followed was unlike any in galactic history. Instead of formal hearings and political maneuvering, it became a celebration of liberation and cooperation. Dragons emerged from hiding to share their knowledge freely with other species. Humans demonstrated their unique ability to understand and improve any technology, no matter how advanced. Other species contributed their own strengths to create solutions that no single race could have achieved alone. The final council vote was unanimous. Humans would not just receive protected habitat worlds. They would be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with dragons as their co-representatives. The first Human-Dragon Council delegation would work together to establish new principles of cooperation and mutual aid throughout the galaxy. 3 months later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned Starship Harmony, watching as construction crews, mixed teams of humans, dragons, and dozens of other species, put finishing touches on the first joint research facility in galactic history. Her consciousness was still merged with Kirielda's, their partnership having become a model for human-dragon cooperation throughout known space. Any regrets? Kirielda's voice asked within their shared awareness. Maya smiled, her human individuality intact within their merged consciousness. About which part? Fixing a dying dragon? Fighting a fleet of slavers? Liberating half the galaxy? Or fundamentally changing the political structure of known civilization? All of it. Maya looked out at the stars, where ships from hundreds of worlds were arriving to join the new cooperative alliance, an organization dedicated to mutual aid rather than conquest, to healing rather than controlling, to building rather than taking. No regrets, she said finally. After all, I'm a technician. This is what I do. I fix things that everyone else thinks are broken beyond repair. And the galaxy was definitely broken. Their merged consciousness reached out to touch the minds of dragons and humans working together throughout the sector, sharing knowledge, solving problems, and creating wonders that neither species could have achieved alone. Besides, Maya added with the satisfaction of someone who had just completed the most complex repair job in galactic history. The warranty on this fix should last for centuries. In the depths of space, new alliances were forming, old wounds were healing, and the future was brighter than anyone had dared to imagine. The age of conquest and enslavement was ending, replaced by an era of cooperation and mutual growth. And at the center of it all was the simple truth that had started everything. Sometimes the most powerful force in the universe is one person who refuses to give up on fixing something that everyone else has written off as hopeless.